The New York Metropolitans scored a total of 17 runs over a 24-hour span and have nothing to show for it. How's it going, Mets and overall baseball fans? Welcome for chiming in for the latest postgame show here on WardyNYM, the number one postgame show here covering the Metropolitan team. I'm all over the place. My emotions are honestly a wreck right now. I don't know how, if I should exemplify more anger, disappointment, not too much, glass half full guy. I have a lot to say about this game because there were more extra base hits in tonight's game alone than you would see in a normal calendar season from a team. That is literally how obscure tonight's game was. Today's game, rather, there in Coors. And we have a lot to get into as, again, the Mets falter by a final score of 11-10. They lost yesterday, 10-7? Again, 17 effing runs this team managed to score over the past 24 hours and have 0 wins. They're back down to 500. They had a 2-4 road trip when they faced the Cubs and the Rockies. They've dropped 4 of 6 games to the Rockies over this past month alone. Unbelievable. The pitching, you got to give them credit for showing a steaming pile of dog shit, which is what we got again today. Unfortunately, from the starting and from the relief pitching, you got no help whatsoever. Francisco Alvarez, for a second straight day, gives you a 3-run bomb as the best hitting catcher in baseball right now. And again, the Mets have nothing to show for it. The offense isn't the problem right now. It's back to the pitching. As we know, will always be the main focal point of this team. This team will go as far as the pitching can take them. When you get a stinker from Justin Verlander, of all people, yesterday, you get a stinker from Tyler McGill today. Just a lot of things that could have went wrong certainly went wrong today. And of course, a lot of things did go right in the Mets' favor offensively, and yet 10 runs, and it still isn't enough. So we got a lot to get into. There are certainly positives on the offensive end that I want to highlight, but I'm certainly going to go over the negatives. And again, dropping a series against the Rockies, even in Colorado, is still inexcusable. A lot to get into, but more than anything, I appreciate everyone chiming in live or on replay. Really does mean a lot. Make sure to spam those L's in the chat, unfortunately, because again, as much as it heartbreaks me to say, this is a 2-game lose streak there. You lost the series. You went 2-4 on the road against 2 bad teams. Let's face it again. The Mets seem to continue to play to their competition. Let's be realistic. Again, the Mets have series wins against the Dodgers, against the Rays, albeit again, I know they're not a good hitting team right now, but the Guardians and, probably another solid team in there that I'm missing. And yet their series losses have been to bad teams all year. That continues. This Mets team on the road, while they exemplified offense as you'd expect in Coors, simply couldn't get the pitching, which again isn't too shocking when you're in Coors, but at the end of the day, inexcusable. I love Tyler McGill just as much as the next guy, not just because of the fact that I met him, that I have a good relationship with his mom, who's a great supporter on the channel, but I'm going to call it how it is. Tyler just hasn't had it. He did not look good at all today. He got hard hit from as soon as this game started, and you knew that as soon as the Mets got that 6-2 lead, thanks to Francisco Alvarez being the best thing since sliced bread, you knew it wasn't going to last long. It just didn't feel that way. And then Steven Nagosic, who should not be in this Mets bullpen right now, because again, the Mets don't have a lot of MLB caliber arms in this bullpen that you could be relying on, and it's shoved right in our face again as he gives up a 5 spot in 1 effing inning. Again, you love the offense that you got today, but it was too much offense. I didn't enjoy it because of all this back and forth. Obviously, even if the Mets won, it wouldn't have been as oh my God, what a great win. No, it would have been okay, thank God they just managed to get out of that one, and they still didn't. Again, let's just jump right to the offense, guys. Look at these offensive statistics from the Mets today, and yet they have a 0. They have an L to show for it. It's ridiculous. It is actually ridiculous. So again, guys, I know you're sharing your raw thoughts in the live chat right now. I know that people are screaming, of course, for, Epler's head. They're screaming for Buck's head. They're screaming for your mother's head. Whatever head they're screaming for, I get it. The frustrations are high. I'm frustrated too. So just have at it. I know you guys are going to do your things in the live chat. People on replay, same applies. Of course, shout out to my great sponsors at Sober MLB, and Manta Sleep, and Mojo Sportsbook for being great sponsors here on the channel. But just look at this. The Mets had 14 hits today, guys. Before we break down innings 1 through 9, because I really want to go through the innings, because for people who didn't watch this game, you have no clue just how much of a shit show this game was on all facets. It was Oprah Winfrey out here saying, you get an extra base hit, you get an extra base hit, you get an extra base hit. Everyone and their mother got an extra base hit today. And again, this Mets lineup started out with Francisco Alvarez in the 2-hole today for the first time this season, and he was productive again. And in the bottom is 7-8-9. On paper, you're like, oh, this might not be good in FAM. And then that wasn't Beatty, that was Canna. And then Escobar. The 7-8-9 wasn't even the problem tonight. Overall, this offense wasn't much of an issue. Yes, they struggled with some runners in scoring position early, and then after they were losing 11-6, but they still made a ball game of it. Like, I cannot nitpick much about this offense when you put up a 10 spot on the Rockies at the end of the day. The pitching should have been better. You should have never gave up 11 in the first place. The Mets were up 6-2 in the fourth and were losing 11-6 in the sixth. I mean, like, how does that happen? Mets baseball right now, that is how that happens. But again, appreciate all you beauties in here watching live or on replay. Really doesn't mean a lot. Just look at the hitting. So you see the hitting, right? Look at the pitching. Look at this shit show. Look at this. Look at this. 10 hits, hard hits that McGill was giving up since the start of this ball game. 6 runs, 4 earned, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Nogosek a 5 spot. Who had on their bingo card that Leon would be the best Mets reliever in this series? Pitched a scoreless inning yesterday when no one else could, and pitched another today. Jet Brigham bounced back from what was an unfortunate outing yesterday, giving up that bomb to McMahon. And then you see Hunter and, of course, Rayleigh getting that final out. Just unbelievable pitching today. And again, here's the thing. I will always appreciate, I will always be a McGill fan. But at the end of the day, there is a reason why Tyler McGill heading into the season was the Mets' number 7 starter, okay? Let's not forget that at the end of the day, he is in this rotation right now because the Mets do not have better options. David Peterson has been anything but good this year. He had a sharp outing the other day in AAA. In his most recent outing, he struck out the first 6 batters he saw a day or two ago and then couldn't get out of his own mess as he was walk score and just getting hit hard. Only 4 innings of 4 earned. So David Pearson isn't the answer. Carlos Carrasco, we're hoping to see more productivity out of what we just got there in Chicago against the Cubs. Jose Quintana is expected to return in early July, but this Mets team needs reinforcements pitching-wise, not only for the back half of this rotation, for the bullpen as well, if they want to have a chance of going anywhere this year. So just raw thoughts and reactions on the pitching front are certainly that. At the end of the day, there's guys like this, everyone except for Rayleigh that pitched today, guys, wasn't expected to necessarily, aside from Hunter, wasn't expected to even be active pitching with the team to start the year. It just shows you that the Mets are struggling so heavily with their depth right now. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. It's so difficult for this team to get quality innings. It's beyond comprehension at this point. It really is. And again, Nogosek didn't do any favors. It's like Nogosek is so Jekyll and Hyde, going to get a couple sharp outings at him. And then, granted, I know they're in cores, but at the end of the day, he pitched like shit. So how much of that is Coors effect versus what we just saw, right? And I know that Starling Marte, of course, got the start in center field today. His first official start in center field as a Met. I didn't like that at all. And while Brennan Nimmo may have been able to get that ball, Marte again went all out. He gave his best effort there. It's not all on Marte for what led those runs to come in that were hit on McGill, because McGill, again, didn't do himself any favors. Had an error in the inning that led to everything imploding there. But on top of that, there's something to be said about Marte being in center field. You want to give Brandon Nimmo the day off, which you understand to a degree, and it still blows up in the Mets' face somehow. It's just they can't get a break from this. They really cannot. So yeah, I don't even know on how much. I'm not gonna sit here. I'm not gonna yell away and rant away and do all that shit because I'm genuinely not in the mood for it. I'm not. I'm just annoyed. I'm frustrated. Again, the Mets somehow, some way dropped both their series on the road, and it just shows you. I know the Mets have had what feels like more road games than any other team in baseball this year. But this Mets team at home is very different than what they are on the road. They have their 5-game win streak at home, right? On the road, aside from that West Coast trip, ever since the final 2 games against San Francisco and San Francisco, this Mets team has been nothing short of anemic on the road when it comes to consistency. They either have the offense and they don't have the pitching, or they have the pitching and they don't have the offense. Nothing has been in unison yet. They have not been able to coincide with each other, and that is another issue that we're seeing full-fledged with this Mets team. There's no consistency, and that's why they're going to be sitting 500 now as we head into Memorial Day tomorrow, as they have the off day, and that game 1 of the Phillies series starts Tuesday, in which which I will likely be in attendance. I think I'm going to be behind home plate Tuesday, so look out for your boy. I don't know if you'll be able to see me in the frame or not. I'll let you guys know. I'm going with a buddy of mine who's actually a Phillies fan, so really hoping that Senga can give the Mets a strong start. I'm 3-0 at Citi Field this year. That may come to an end Tuesday, but I'll keep you guys updated, and I'll do a post-game video after that game. But let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let's see. What you're basically saying is it is Diaz's fault because his injury moved everyone up a slot. I agree. I mean, no, I'm not blaming Diaz for everything with the bullpen. Yes, it sucks that Diaz is out all year, but I would also make the argument about Edwin Diaz that I feel that he probably would have gone said injury regardless on if that was in the WBC or not, because that was a fluke injury that happened with his knee when he wasn't doing anything strenuous to it. So I could be wrong in that front, but we've already talked about the Edwin Diaz situation. We're not harping on that now. The Mets have had time to try to add to this bullpen a little bit, and they haven't. They've stuck with internal options, and that has led them to being in part a 500 ball club right now. So let me talk about this game innings 1 through 9. I got a lot to say, and might add, I haven't even really been able to praise what again is Francisco Alvarez's greatness. You know, if I did a player of the game today, that wasn't Tommy Pham, because Tommy Pham was flipping phenomenal today. Pham again doing his best efforts to make sure he's not cut when Mauricio is inevitably brought up to this team sooner than later. Pham again had a very good day at the plate today. I have to give him credit for that. Great base running too, but everyone did really well at the plate today for the most part. It felt like. But having said that, Alvarez, again, Francisco Alvarez, guys, has 8 home runs this year. In the month of May, has over 1,100 OPS. He has been tearing the cover off the baseball and continue to do that again today. This kid is something special. He's a generational talent at the backstop position. And it is such a damn shame that, again, you get 2 towering home runs in back-to-back games for him, in which that either gave the Mets the lead or tied the ball game, and the Mets have done nothing with it. That's what really stings for me. You're finally getting power protection outside of Alonso, outside of Lindor, and nothing is happening with it. Nothing's happening with it. Vientos had an offer today, but I'm not even upset about that. Again, I want Vientos to get more reps. I liked him going 2 for 4 yesterday. Want him in the DH position, obviously. Beatty should have started the game even against a lefty, because why? Gomber's splits are the opposite. Gomber has worse numbers versus lefties than he does righties, and that's why, in part, Brandon Nimmo went 2 for 3 against him today. So I digress. Let's talk about this ball game. Again, continue spam whatever you want to spam. I'm seeing a lot of fire applers, DFA Nego6 in the chat. Again, you guys can have a field day. Go do your thing. Luke Riley, long time no see. How are you, brother? Happy to have you in here. Shout out all my live members, people live and on replay. Happy to have you guys in here as we're breaking down another Mets series loss, as they are now back to 500 as they lose by a final score of 11-10. But let's go through the innings now, because I've been rambling here for a bit. Again, appreciate Elliot, all you guys in here. Really does mean a lot. Again, a lot of offensive production today. Towards the end, it sucked because the Mets did have runners in scoring position with less than 2 outs in a couple innings and couldn't execute more than what they did. But this is still on the pitching at the end of the day. It can't not be with how bad the pitching has been that we saw over the past 24 hours. Okay, guys. So the lineup, as we stated, today's lineup was unique. It was interesting. And offensively, it worked. It did work. So I'm not going to criticize Buck too much on it. Brandon Nimmo was leading things off in DH. Alvarez in the 2-hole because McNeil had the day off because he felt slight tightness in his groin. He did pinch hit later in the game there in the 9th and had a run thanks to a single that, of course, was scored from Tommy Pham afterwards. But Alvarez was in the 2-hole. Lindor in the 3 spot. Alonso 4, Vientos at third base 5, and then was pinch hit for McNeil in the 9th. Marte 6th in center field. Tommy Pham 7th in left field. Mark Canha 8th in right field, and he was pinch hit for Brett Beatty, who drove in a run, the Mets' final run of the game tonight. And then Eduardo Escobar, who had a very solid day at the plate too. So Eddie started the game at second base. But getting into it now, Brandon Nimmo, guys, starts things off in the first with a single. The Mets do not convert, however. In the bottom of the first, with 2 outs, again, it's a quick start for Tyler McGill, but McGill, even with 2 outs, really struggled to get things going today. Chris Bryant rips his first single of the day, and McMahon rips a single. Thankfully, the Mets get out of that inning unscathed. As we then hit the second inning with 2 outs, Marte with a single, Pham with a single, and a stolen base. His still second there. Canha with a walk, bases loaded, 2 out there for Eduardo Escobar, who unfortunately has a soft ground out to third to end the inning. As we then get to the second after the Mets, surprise, surprise, don't convert with bases loaded. As I've said time and time again, I trust this team so much more with 2 or less on base than I do bases loaded. Because even if it's with 2 outs, if it's with 1 out, or if it's bases loaded, no outs, this team has yet to prove that they can drive in more than a single run in those situations, if at all. And that was full-fledged once again today that we saw, because they thrive better with 2 or less on base from everything I recall from just witnessing this ball game. But either way, the Mets don't convert there in the second, and that would hurt them not long after. But in the second, we see Castro with a single. Thankfully, he's picked off by McGill there. Jones with a single. That's it for the second. We get to the third. Brandon Nimmo with a single, and Alvarez unfortunately grounds into a double play. Nothing else transpires there. As we head to the bottom of the third, Blackman reaches on a McGill error, a soft toss from Alonso there. Easy catch for Tyler McGill at first, and unfortunately hops right out of the glove. A bad error there by McGill, and he'll be the first to tell you that. McMahon with a walk, and then with 2 outs, Randall Grichuk, who's been swinging a hot bat, rips an RBI single to give them the 1-0 lead there for the Colorado Rockies. They would score a second run in that inning to have a 2-run lead on the Mets, as we would then head to the 4th inning. And in the 4th inning, this is where the fireworks began for this Mets offense. Thanks to Alonso starting things off with a double, Marte with a walk. Both would then steal bases on a passed ball. Goes past Wins, who's playing for his 3rd team in the NL West this year. Started the season with the Giants and was on the Dodgers and had a key RBI, if I'm not mistaken, when he played the Mets already this year. And now he's with the Rockies. And again, productive there, but passed ball gets Alonso to steal third. Of course, the second base is stolen there as well by Marte. And then Cano with a walk. And pardon me, before we get there, Tommy Pham rips a 2-run double and then would steal second base. So it is a tied ball game. Mark Canha gets on base, and shout out Tommy Pham, had very good at-bats today. Not going to complain about him in the slightest. Eduardo Escobar with an RBI single, and then there you go. Francisco Alvarez does what he does best, and that is absolutely torching baseballs. Alvy with a 3-run ding-dong, and just like that, you have yourself a 6-2 Mets lead. A 6-2 Mets lead thanks to Francisco Alvarez's heroics once again, and surprise, surprise, the Mets don't do anything with it. Let's see what we got here in the live chat. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Let's see. Dave says, Worry, will you talk with Jim Riley before Mets Jays series? I'm honestly not sure, because I'm probably going to be out of town for that Blue Jays series. So as of now, I don't intend on doing a collaboration for that series, but we will see. Yeah, as of now, I'm not going to be in town for when that series takes place. So I'll either be live or doing game recaps on my phone. We'll have to see what happens on that front. But guys, I have to ask everybody, as frustrating as, again, this loss was and the series loss was, share with me your excitement on Francisco Alvarez, because that cannot be understated. I cannot get enough of this kid, and it drives me nuts again that the Mets managed to somehow, some way lose said ball game after Alvarez continues his heroics. But he took a high fastball that he's striking out every day of the week just a couple weeks ago, and he ripped that bad boy deep to left without a problem to give the Mets a second consecutive game with a 3-run ding-dong. So I want to know, what are your thoughts on Francisco Alvarez right now, guys? Spam him in the live chat. I know we got in a lot of negatives. I know we got a lot of doom and gloomers in here, and for good reason. After dropping 2 of your 6 games, after going 2-4 rather, in this 6-game road trip. But let me hear your thoughts here on the Francisco Alvarez front, because, I mean, if there's one positive to take away from this road trip, it is the generational talent at the backstop, which is Francisco Alvarez. I simply cannot get enough of him. You know, when everything else is going wrong, he is that right. And he himself, again, didn't have great at-bats all day. Had some runners in scoring position situations that he unfortunately double played in. But again, you can't even nitpick him much, because he still torched a baseball to give the Mets a 4-run lead the Mets had in the 4th inning, and they coughed it up right away. I mean, we went from Francisco Alvarez, fucking Buster Olney out here thinking his ass is going to get sent down. The only thing that should be sent down is you, Buster, from even having that salary job. But I digress. What I will say, though, is that Francisco Alvarez went from somehow, some way, people contemplating if he's even going to be up with the team for a certain period of time, to now we're talking about NL Rookie of the Year contention is what Alvarez has brought himself into. So again, when in doubt, Alvarez out, baby. He has been nothing short of an absolute dime. I've been loving every second of him. I really have. I really, really have. He's just been so nice to watch. Were you scared to blame Showalter? No, I'm not scared to blame Buck. I've not been happy with Buck's decision-making on the pitching front at all. I haven't. But I think the bigger issue is that the Mets don't have good pitching options. Okay? They don't. They don't right now. When your $40 million a year, 40-year-old yesterday gives you a shitter, and a guy that, albeit starting today, is still a guy that wasn't expected to be in the rotation to start the season, doesn't do well in Coors. Nogosic, who was not supposed to be with the Mets to start the season, is in the bullpen. It's not like the Mets have these star-studded options in the pen that we're just not discussing right now. That isn't the case. So, yes, there is certainly criticisms to be had with Buck in part this year. Don't get me wrong. I've not been happy with all of his decisions, especially as of late. But it goes beyond Buck Showalter. It goes far beyond that. And it has to go with the roster construction. And right now, the Mets are in desperate need of pitching depth that they simply do not have. Okay, now let's get back into breaking down this ballgame. I got sidetracked for a minute. So again, the Mets get a 6-2 lead in the fourth. Then in the bottom of the fourth, they give it right back with 2 outs. Blackmon with a single, Profar with a single, Chris Bryant with a walk. McMahon rips a 3-run double, and just like that, it's a 1-run ballgame. And Grichuk says, all right, we're going to make it a tied ballgame with an RBI double. Again, extra base hits galore, not only tonight, but this entire series. I don't even know if someone can find the actual statistic on the amount of extra base hits that both teams combined hit this series. Please let me know. It felt like at least 100. It was beyond obnoxious. It was ridiculous. That's why I was like, can we please get the hell out of this series? Because, this Mets team on the road, and Coors especially, is a recipe for disaster. And shout out to my good friend Michael Marino, who does a great job as an independent reporter. He tweeted out early today, before the Mets game started, saying, I'm not feeling good about McGill pitching today. I think it's going to be a really, really high-scoring game. And he hit the nail on the head, like unbelievably well. And I hate that he was right, but he was right at the end of the day. The Mets just did not get MLB caliber pitching again, and that led them to their demise in this game. But as we advance further in the ball game, again, it's already now a 6-6 ball game. It's tied up. We head to the fifth. Alonso leads things off with a triple, and he's running on the first pitch that Vientos swings at. It's a ground out for Mark Vientos. Infield ground out a little bit deep there on third. Alonso is automatically running right away. But Alonso did not have the proper slide. It was an easy tag for Colorado. I was head scratching with that play. The Mets, we've seen some great base running, and then Alonso is not known for his best base running, one getting a home. On the base pass, going second and then to third, he's usually pretty solid, but at home, not so much. And Keith always grimaces at the type of slides that he does there heading into home plate. It was an awkward one, and it wasn't a proper one. And no less, Alonso, after having a leadoff triple, it's wasted right away, and the Mets will do nothing in the fifth, and they needed to, because in the bottom of the fifth, as Steven Nogosic comes into this ballgame, the ballgame was over before he knew it then. Tovar with a double, wins with an RBI double, Blackmon with a 2-run ding-dong to right, and McMahon with a 2-run ding-dong to center left. And just like that, it's an 11-6 lead for the Colorado effing Rockies. Then in the sixth, Leon with a 1-2-3 inning. Thank you, Dominic Leon, for being competent. In the seventh, then Lindor with a home run to narrow the lead then to, 5 runs? It was still 5-run deficit. No, can I do math? 4-run deficit, 11-7, 7-11, if you want to say that, for my convenient people out there. It's still Mets are down. 2 outs, Marte with a triple then, Pham with a walk, but Mark Canha strikes out on 3 pitches to Daniel Bard. Why? Because unfortunately, of course he does. Then the bottom of the seventh, and Canha did not have a hit today. He did get on base multiple times, and at least a run scored because of walks. But again, though, he didn't get a base knock today. Then after Brigham with a 1-2-3 seventh, we head to the eighth. Eduardo Escobar with a double, Nimmo with a walk, Alvarez, unfortunately, with a really unfortunate double play, again with 2 on, less than 2 out, with a 110 mile per hour right up the middle. Double play. Nice play there by the Rockies. Nothing you could do about it. And that'll do her in the eighth. Then as we get to the bottom of the eighth, Tommy Hunter comes in 2 outs. Grichuk with a double. Brooks really comes in, and he gets the lefty and lefty out there on Castro, striking out Swaining. And the ninth, with 1 out, pinch hits and gets himself a single to right. Marte with a walk. Tommy Pham with another 2-run double. His second 2-run double of the day, if I'm not mistaken. Or wait, maybe I am mistaken. Was that a 2-run double or triple? Either way, Tommy Pham had a double, a triple, and I want to say a single today. I think he was just a home run shy of the cycle. 4 RBIs for Tommy Pham today. Got to give him props where props are due. Really, really good day at the plate for Tommy Pham today. Just spraying the baseball everywhere. You love to see that. Would be nice if we saw more of that from Tommy Pham, but it makes sense why we're getting that from Tommy Pham against the Rockies one and then Colorado on top of that, right? Not trying to diminish what he did, but not expecting that from Tommy Pham a hell of a lot. And he probably knows his job might be on the line sooner than later, so at least he's stepping up, if that's added pressure to him, if you will, and, trying to make the most of the opportunities he's having at the moment. But as we then advance from there, Pham with a 2-run double. Brett Beatty grounds out to first base. Another run comes in, that being Pham. And it's a 1-run ball game, and unfortunately the Mets will go on to lose by a final score of 11-10. Just a shit show. A shit show. A shit show of a series. Again, 17 runs in a 24-hour span and nothing to show for it. It's inexcusable, guys. It really is. I'm pissed off, to say the least. Happy with the offense. That's great. That's great for all my people that care about the offensive numbers out there. But pitching just absolutely inexcusable. And I'm not going to lie, a part of me is more pissed off about Justin Verlander today than anything else. And I love JV. I really think that he's going to be a driver for this rotation this year. I mean, he needs to be. If this Mets team is going to get anywhere. But I'm genuinely pissed off about JV yesterday in hindsight. Because it's one thing for Tyler McGill, who we've seen his struggles with. We know how he can get hit hard and often. That isn't the most shocking thing in the world, right? Steven Nagosic, who's not supposed to be in this bullpen, giving up a 5 spot. Yes, it was brutal, but at the end of the day, it's still Steven Nagosic. Justin Verlander, even in cores, you saw what Mad Max did in Game 1, pitching a stellar outing, going to the 7th inning, looking really sharp. Where was that, JV, right? So it really does bother me more. It bothers me more that your $40 million, 40-year-old ace in Justin Verlander gets carved up yesterday. Because if he was able to pitch competent yesterday, the Mets win this series is what happens. And not getting that starting pitching from the guys you need it most is the biggest issue at the end of the day. So really, really frustrating. Just a frustrating series, a frustrating road trip. This Mets team are Jekyll and Hyde if they're at home. You love their chances if they're on the road, not so much. The Mets, to this point, I'm trying to think, how many series have the Mets dropped at home this year? I know they dropped their home series. Oh, wait, they've dropped 2 series at... Wait. They've dropped 2 series at home this year. They dropped their series at Colorado, and they've dropped their series to the Nationals at home. But they've won a series to the Marlins. They've won series to the Rays. They've won series to the Guardians. I'm blanking maybe on 1 or 2 more. This Mets team at home has certainly been better than they have on the road. And albeit, again, schedule has not been in their favor, not based on who they're facing, because that certainly has, but based on home and away, things of that nature. They again, have had the longest start to the season on the road than any other team in baseball right now. So hopefully being back at home helps them a bit. But when they do eventually go back on the road, which won't be long from now, they need to actually kind of get their shit together here. And hopefully some decisions are made sooner than later on the pitching front. Look, I've been saying it, guys. If the Mets are going to trade away one of a Pham, a can of Vogelback, and Nito, do it. Package one of those 3 hitters with Nito, because Nito is not going to be on this team once Narvaez returns. Alvarez isn't going anywhere. If you're going to consider Mauricio up anytime soon, you're partying with one of Vogelback, Pham, or Canna. You make your executive decision there. You combine 2 of those hitters out of the 4. You package them for relievers with options. You need more pitching depth right now. I'd imagine that you can at least get something in a package of 2 of those players out there, even with the market with what it is right now. I'd imagine that you can get something. It might not be great, and it might not be much better than what you have right now, but the Mets could use as much pitching depth as humanly possible. It is better to have something than nothing, because the Mets are grasping at straws for any and all pitching depth at the moment, and that too needs to be rectified sooner than later if they want to go on the run that they hope to have this year, which I know you're probably saying, playoffs? What do you mean playoffs? As they sit 500 through roughly their first 60 games of the season. But Mets fans, that is going to do it for the live show. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I honestly want to take a nap using my Manta sleep mask. And you too, of course, can purchase a Manta sleep mask today by checking them out using my promo code WARDY for 10% off your purchase. The best sleep mask, the most affordable sleep mask out there on the market. Best bang for your buck. Click the link in the description. And also, guys, once more, our Brett Beatty jersey giveaway will be announced sometime this week, so be on the lookout for that, set at the end of the month. And all you have to do to enter said giveaway is by joining Wardy's Sower MLB League, clicking the link in the description or in the comments down below for people on replay. Click it, sign up for free, the best MLB fantasy game out there. Sign up, draft your team, enter weekly tournaments, and I will be picking one lucky winner to whoever was fortunate enough to go out of their way to do that, to sign up, to enter the tournaments. I'm going to just be randomly clicking one of the people that I know signed up through Sober, and then I will be making the announcement on Twitter and on the community tab, and even probably in a post-game show to make sure that you guys can find out who, in fact, was that winner. So it's not a subscriber per se. It's someone that, again, is a follower on the channel but went out of their way to join Wardy's Sower MLB League. If I pick your name after you entered, signed up, drafted your team, and entered tournaments, then you are going to win a free Brett Beatty jersey giveaway. And stay tuned because we will be doing a second jersey giveaway for the month of June very soon, so be on the lookout for that. Hold on. Sorry, your boy had a sneeze. My allergies kicking my butt right now. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. Love you to death. Now I'm going to get out of here. Mets lose by a final score of 11-10. They look to get back to their winning ways starting Tuesday, and I'll probably be in attendance to look out for your short schmuck boy and Wardy behind home plate against the Philadelphia Phillies. See you then, folks, and look out for a podcast likely coming out tomorrow of Queen's Corner. Myself, Anthony Recker, and Joe Sorallo, at least one of the two with me, because I know Reck's been out of town and Joe's busy with his normal work. So we'll see who's going to be hopping on for the pod. But have a great one, folks. As always, no matter what, let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.